Hello everybody, good morning, welcome to the United Stand, welcome to the weekend and welcome to the United Stand. I've already done that, I'm Mark Goldbridge. Lots to get into this morning. We're talking a perfect double transfer swoop in relation to two players that we've been linked to this morning. Also, Michael Carrick to Tottenham. How happy would you be if that happened? Apparently Tottenham are sniffing around. They're looking for a permanent manager and Carrick is high on their list. Also, I think we need to be aware of Tottenham because they're probably going to be looking at some of the managers that maybe we're looking at. Do Man United need to pull their finger out, or will this force them to actually just give Carrick the job? Apparently, Jason Wilcox is over the moon with Michael Carrick. I mean, this is like Ronald McDonald being over the moon. If you deliver a cow at his front door, he's just licking his lips, isn't he? Thinking, there we go, there's another cow to the slaughter that I can completely dominate and ruin. But look, let's start off with the transfer stuff because it's a little bit more positive. Let's say that, well, first of all, thank you very much for everybody who watched the video last night. This actually links in with one of the players we're going to talk about. So we're talking about Ryerson and we're talking about Kroupi this morning. Two players that in many ways would be perfect signings for Manchester United in the summer, which I'll explain in a moment. I didn't do a live show at 8 o'clock last night because Terry was taking one of his many girlfriends out for a Valentine. I'm joking. He was taking his partner out. And I was doing Dortmund against Mainz, which was a very good game. Ryerson played very, very well in that game. But I did put a video up for you about a midfielder, a little bit different. Lots of you've watched it. Thank you very much. If you've not watched it, check it out on the homepage. We've got a few more around that, around midfield, around wingers, left backs. So a series of those coming up. But let's start off with the news this morning. So we've been linked with Kroupi. A couple of other clubs have linked us to him as well. A couple of other clubs have been linked to him as well. So Manchester United, Newcastle, Tottenham and Aston Villa have joined Arsenal, Chelsea and Liverpool in pursuing Junior Kroupi from Bournemouth. That's a lot of clubs looking at him. Also linked to Ryerson this morning, who had a fantastic game for Dortmund last night, but is having a fantastic season as well. I mean, right wing back, right back, 4 assists last night, was it? Was it 4 assists or 3 assists last night? I don't know. But look, definitely a hat-trick of assists. Fantastic ball delivery. He's like a right-back David Beckham, basically. But the problem, there's a problem with Ryerson, and I'll talk about that. But let's start off talking about Kroupi. So I don't even know what position this player actually plays in. Is he a winger? Is he a 10? Is he a striker? He's only 19. There's a big long list of other clubs looking at him. And look, there's no doubt he's having a very, very good season at Bournemouth. And obviously they've moved Semenyo on and he's doing very, very well. But I think from a Manchester United point of view, I do sort of 10 and a striker, says Liam. I don't know about this. I don't know about this. I want to bring Ryerson in because I was looking at this morning and look, I think United sort of rule themselves out of these sort of deals. So Julian Ryerson, Norwegian right back, let's say, he's 28. He'll be 29 in November. So he'll be 29 next season when he'd be signing for us if we went for him. His contract is up in 2028. So you're probably talking about 30 to 35 million for Ryerson. Kroupi, you're probably talking 60 to 70 million, maybe more. One of them's 19, one of them's 28. And when I was preparing this show this morning, I thought, look, perfect deals in many ways. Kroupi, Premier League proven, young, comes into the Man United side, can play multiple positions. We're probably going to play a back four from now on. We're probably going to play with a front three and a striker. If he can play left, right, 10 and forward at 19 and he's Premier League proven and he comes into the club with the same development and hunger as a Cunha and an Mbeumo, he's 6 years younger, he could be a fantastic signing. Could be a fantastic signing. And I think it's probably worth saying, would you sign Kroupi, and we'll do a poll on it, would you sign him for, let's say, would you sign Kroupi for, let's say, 65 million? Yes or no? And I'm not really on board with this constant signing of young players, but I think there's 18-year-olds who've never played first-team football, of which we've bought a few. There's Lenny Yoro who played a little bit in a different league, and then there's 19-year-olds like Kroupi who's doing it week in, week out in the Premier League for Bournemouth. So I think that it's not always about age. I think if you give yourself, look, I'm talking about football here. It's always, if you give yourself that parameter that we're not going to buy people over 26 and we're only interested in people under 21, then you're going to make mistakes. Like, as I said, there might be a 19-year-old in France who's got no Premier League experience, has amazing potential. You bring him into the club and it takes 3 to 5 years to get him up to his potential. You could bring Kroupi in at 19 who's playing in the Premier League and is ready to go. So not every shoe fits all. So I think he is an interesting signing. And people might go, well, you're a hypocrite because you say we need ready-to-go players. But you can be ready to go at 19. I mean, you look at Fabregas at 19, took him over a 25-year-old established Premier League midfielder because he played so much for Arsenal and was doing really, really well. So I think Kroupi's an interesting one. The viability of doing a deal like that, well, why not? Why not? We don't know what we're doing this summer yet. But the Ryerson one worries me more because I actually think when you look at him, what he'd bring to our team is exactly what Manchester United need. And yet we won't do it because he's over 26. People are really, really happy with Mazraoui and say, look, the experience of Mazraoui and De Ligt has been a real positive, and it has been. But I also think that when you look at it, Ryerson is better than Delot and he's better than Mazraoui because he actually knows how to go forward. But United won't go anywhere near him because he's going to be 29 in December or November. And I think this is just ridiculous. And it does need calling out because he could come into this football club, be a really decent right back for us for 2 to 3 years and ready to go, and somebody that has immense stamina. I mean, I was watching him last night. He's got immense stamina. The Bundesliga is not far off the Premier League. It's probably the closest to the Premier League in relation to speed and intensity. Immense stamina. Superb ball delivery. That's not going to change league to league. I mean, absolutely. The second goal, very little backlift, brilliant cross into the box. I'm very passionate about this. It doesn't have to be Ryerson. You could throw me 3 or 4 other players that are really good going forward. But our fullbacks are atrocious. And it's the perfect time to talk about this because I'm talking about a player that's been linked to us who last night had a hat-trick of assists. We've got fullbacks who won't get a hat-trick of assists all season. I very much doubt that they're going to get 3 Premier League assists this season, Delot and Luke Shaw between them. One of them might do it, but they both should be hitting it. And the fact that we won't look at it because Ryerson's like 28, but Luke Shaw's 30 and Delot's about 27. So it's all right to keep players over 26 who aren't good enough, but we're not going to buy players over 26 who are better than them. And that to me is a flawed logic. But it's one that's very, very, very in keeping with this Ineos football ownership, where they've set these ridiculous parameters where they won't buy players over 26. They just won't buy players over 26. They're not going to do it. And it's incredible because there's a player there that's relatively cheap. He's going to be under £40 million, who has the stamina, legs and ability to give us some much needed attacking impetus down the fullbacks. And we'll go and buy the next Trent who's 19, who's playing in the Belgian league. And we're never going to progress if we do that because we need ready-to-go players. So, look, I actually sort of surprised myself and I thought, you know what, maybe it's the weekend, maybe I'm feeling positive. But I actually agree with the headline. What's the headline today? Perfect transfer swoop. I think these 2 players, Kroupi and Ryerson, I'd be over the moon with them. I'd be absolutely over the moon. Somebody in the chat says he can actually play left back as well. I don't know about that. Let me just have a quick look. Yeah, I mean, I'm on Transfer Market at the moment looking at his contract, which is 2028, and it does say main position right back, other position right midfield left back. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know whether he's any good at left back. That's always a bonus, but I think that I think these 2 would be very interesting signings. But as I've said to you many, many times, I'm not going to change my opinion on this. I think Man United need between 5 and 10 signings this summer. They're not going to do that. That's not going to happen. But I'm in between them 5 and 10 players. I'm thinking about the Champions League next year. I mean, it's ridiculous, isn't it, really, that we think like we do Jason Wilcox's job for free. He may as well just tune into the United Stand every morning and take notes. I mean, he's that incompetent. He doesn't even do that. Because if I'm Man United, right, we're hearing about Wilcox. He's over the moon with Michael Carrick, and he's really pushing him up the list to be the manager now because he's so happy with what he's doing. I'll come back to that. But that's how naive Wilcox is and how rubbish he is at his job. But listen to this, Jason. Next season, you need to remove your head from your arse and realise that being a director of football is about the now and the next 3 years. Let me tell you for free, next season, we've got Newcastle running through us. And what I mean like that is, not that Newcastle are going to batter us. What I mean is that Newcastle qualify for the Champions League and then can't deal with it. And then they're not in the Champions League. They qualify again and then they can't deal with it. They've done it for the last 4 years. They qualify, they're in it, they can't qualify. They're out, they qualify, they're in it, they can't qualify. And what I mean by that is, you finish in the top 5 or 4th or whatever. You qualify for Europe. You haven't then got the squad for Europe and the qualifying in the top 4. You drop out again, and then you're not playing in Europe, but you have got the squad to get in the top 4. And then the following year, you're in the Champions League and you can't do it. We haven't got the squad next season to finish in the top 4 and do well in the Champions League. So he needs to build a squad. So what I'm saying is, we need a backup goalkeeper. We need a left back. I believe we need a right back. We need 2, maybe 3 midfielders. That's 6. We need a winger. That's 7. And we need a backup striker. That's 8. And if Bruno... So, yeah, 8. I'm pitching in at 8. What did I say? So backup goalkeeper, left back, right back. And I'm not bothered about centre back. I don't think we need a centre back. 2, maybe 3 midfielders, a winger, and a backup striker, and maybe a number 10. So that's my. Because a lot of you've said, what is your 5 to 10? And I'm like, well, I'm building a bench, aren't I? So 2 backup goalkeeper for the bench, 2 full backs, 3 midfielders, winger, backup striker, and then probably maybe a replacement for Bruno. I don't know. So also new owners would be great. Do you think United are going to buy 8 players in the summer? I don't. But if you go and buy Ryerson and Kroupi, I've probably just covered off some of those really important positions as well. And I still buy my midfielders. The video last night's about the midfielders. So I like the look of those 2 players. But there is a lot of things to call out about Man United at the moment, and maybe we're the only community doing it, and maybe some of you don't agree with me on it. However, it really needs some momentum. It needs picking up. You've got to start buying players over 26. There is a whole world of players out there that are 26. This policy is flawed. There's some brilliant players out there that are going to come in and make us better instantly for 3 to 4 years. And they'll be cheap. They will be cheap. So look, I hope that we're looking at those sort of deals, but I doubt it. Really enjoyed the Sports Bible show. Should do more, says Whoop. It was really good. Check it out on Sport Bible. Really did enjoy it. Ryerson is a mentality driver in the Norway team, says Mr. Tomba. I'm really looking forward to watching Norway in the World Cup. Can't lose Casemiro and Harry. Will suffer at set pieces, says Robert. You didn't watch the video last night, did you? Robert's just come in here spreading propaganda without watching the video last night. I've found as a midfielder to replace Casemiro. Check out the video. Welcome to the Members Club. Thank you for getting your badge in. Really appreciate your support. If you've got a badge and you're part of the Members Club, love that. What 3 midfielders are realistic that we buy, says Seb. Tonali and Adams, Ampadu with Xerxes Kone swap deal with Roma. Manu Kone is a possibility. We were looking at him last summer. I would always say keep that name in, as I've been saying to you for 9 months. It's not one that's fashionable with the journalists, so no one ever talks about it. But what I would tell you about transfers is, just because all the journalists are talking about Anderson, Anderson, Wharton and Baleba, we're not getting 2 of them. We're not. We won't get 2 of them. Manu Kone, definitely I would throw in there. He is a player that Man United are interested in. Tyler Adams as well. So, yeah. But 3 realistic midfielders for me. I don't know what's realistic, Seb. You've got to get the... You've got to get the Sorry, let me just... Sorry, this is not relevant. You've got to get Champions League football. Look, if you want... I want 3 midfielders. I would say Elliot Anderson, Angelo Stiller and Tyler Adams. I'd be very happy with them 3. Adams is the 3rd wheel, and then the other 2 is the, starters or, go make us better. Patrick Lynch says, Kroupi feels like Baleba last season, doing well, but with young players, their form varies wildly. It's not that we shouldn't do those deals, but players like this are always a higher risk. Yeah, but you know what, Patrick? I completely agree with you. Shock horror. I think you always are the voice of reason. But I think with Kroupi, remember what I just said. I'm pitching 8 signings, and I'm building a squad. So, when you look at Arsenal and they sign Eze and Madueke, they're not even starters. It's Saka and Odegaard. That's their position. So when I look at Kroupi, I'd be saying you bring him in. You've already got Cunha, Mbeumo, Ahmad, Sesko, Bruno. Where does he start? Oh, he's on the bench. That's something I don't think United are even going to think about this summer. I don't think it's even on the agenda to be buying players for the bench. But if you want to be in the Champions League year in, year out, you've got to bring these players in. And I think if you bring a 26-year-old in, then he's probably going to want to play a little bit more. But if you bring Kroupi into Manchester United at 20, I think as a bench player who's learning the ropes, there's a lot less pressure. Whereas you're quite right. If you bring Baleba in, he's going to be straight into... I mean, Baleba, to me, is just... I didn't even do... Check out the video last night. If you did check it out, I used Baleba as a reference point in my 5 suggestions. He wasn't in there, and neither was Wharton. For me, Wharton and Baleba are a no. I'm allowed that opinion, aren't I? For me, Wharton and Baleba are a no. Wharton's price... for what you actually get, no, not for me. And Baleba, price and performance, no. That doesn't mean we're not going to go for those players, and it doesn't mean that you're wrong if you want to go for them, but I had 5 players last night, taking into account Casemiro's skills and abilities, and I think that's important as well. Casemiro's gone. Cunha was saying it's going to be hard to replace him. We don't know the personality of Casemiro and his influence on the dressing room and training. But we do know his profile as a player. He has weaknesses. We can't keep a player that hasn't got legs anymore. But he is also very good passing and set pieces and heading. So you've got to look at, do you want to replace those or are you going to go for something completely different? But for me, Wharton and Baleba are a no. But I think Wilcox will be all over them. Thank you very much, Patrick, as always. Right, saw the video. Onana isn't covering both of them, says Robert McCormack. What do you mean? Onana is probably the best player out there in relation to aerial ability. Beyond that, I don't think you're replacing Casemiro's aerial ability. I mean, look, we're talking about last night's video. Let people watch it first, Robert. Per transfer market, Tonali's got 2 years left on his contract. Is he gettable for 60 to 70 million? We're wandering into price, and price is going to be dependent on Champions League football. I mean, look, I think there are premium signings like Tonali and Anderson. It's whether you believe Man United can do those deals. My theory on the summer, and we need to talk about this Carrick thing. My theory on the summer is, and we'll see if I'm right, they'll give Michael Carrick the job because it's cheap and easy. And they'll go for Baleba because he's not in the World Cup and they can spend all summer negotiating with Brighton and make out it's a big deal. I think they're going to spin Baleba into Cunha. You know, like Cunha was a really exciting deal that went on too long. I think they're going to do it with Baleba. And it's going to be, when's it going to happen? It's going to take about 8 weeks and we'll pay Brighton what they want. But I think there's going to be a backlash because everybody I talk to is like, what the hell are we doing even going for Baleba? And his passing stats are shit. He's quite good on the defensive side of things, but his passing stats are absolute shit. 3 midfielders, backup striker, backup keeper, new right back, can't be Delo. The list is endless. We should already start meetings and talks should be held, says Yechi. Also, should we buy Diamonde for 80 million, 19 years old, if we got Gabriel and Lacey coming through, and is Ndia a target, says Seb. I think Ndia is a target. As per Ben Jacobs, he's a player of interest, and I like Ndia. I think Ndia has got Cunha and Mbeumo vibes, and I think he's the same age. I would rather we went for someone like Ndia than a Diamonde for instant impact, because I think as many players that are ready to go. Look, if I look at that Man United side next season, let's hope Bruno stays, right? Sesko's young, Yoro's young, Heaven's young, Mainu's still young. Obviously, I've got Cunha and Mbeumo that are ready to go. Ahmad's getting more and more experienced. I would be looking at that team and go, experienced right back, who's ready to go. Left winger, Ndia, experienced, ready to go. Couple of midfielders ready to go. I've just added 4 first-team players who are ready to go. I don't want to add 3 first-team players who need to be nurtured, like Yoro and Sesko and Mainu. So that's how I'm looking at it. Diamonde is an interesting player at Leipzig, but it goes back to what I was talking about Ryerson. Ryerson may not be the solution, but he's ready to go. You bring a right-back in who's another prospect, but this is United's plan. Everything's about prospect. The big story, like sort of circulating the last couple of days, is that Wilcox is really happy with Carrick and is pushing for Carrick. Now, that's not a bad thing necessarily. Some of you might agree with it. But what is Michael Carrick? Ridiculously inexperienced and needs nurturing. He's not even had a bad time at United. Every bloody game he's been interim twice and he's undefeated. So you're giving the job to somebody who's massively inexperienced, who's got no We've got no idea how it's going to work out. And that's Wilcox, who is also massively inexperienced. Jason Wilcox, as director of football, has never had a job as hard as Man United. He's got no experience at all. And that's... I'm happy to say it. I think I've said it before. To me, it's not a surprise that Man United prioritise inexperienced people when you've got inexperienced people in charge. If I'm Jason Wilcox, am I going to go and try and push to get someone like Thomas Tuchel to come into the club, who is more experienced than me and might undermine me? Am I going to go and get players who are experienced and know more about the game than I do? Or am I going to go and get people less experienced than me that I can control and therefore hide my own deficiencies? And I think that's what he's looking to do. I think that he will push for Michael Carrick. He will push for young players because they come in and it's like, I'm the boss. I'm the boss. But that's a terrible way to run a football club like Manchester United. Obviously, we should have best in class. But as I said, Wilcox runs the show and he just wants people in the club that he can control. And Michael Carrick and his group of coaches will be in his debt and in his hand, and they'll do what he says. And that's what he's going to go for. Whether it's Michael Carrick or whoever he interviews, the person who kisses his arse will get the job. And that's why he's obsessed with younger players as well, because they're easier to deal with than older players. But the policy, in my opinion, is flawed. There's a couple of twats in the chat. Let me just get rid of them. I don't know whether we've got any mods this morning, but if you don't like it here, just go. We love it. We love the conversation. We love the debates. It's the weekend. If you don't want to be here, piss off. Go and watch the curling. I've got the curling on anyway, actually. Don't watch the curling. It'd be way above your head. Yachi says, done that one. Thank you very much. Right, just talking about Michael Carrick as well. So lots of conversation around Tottenham. And I think this is quite an interesting topic because obviously Tottenham have sacked their manager and they've gone with Igor Tudor as interim till the end of the season. Obviously, if he does quite well, they might give him the job. And it's quite interesting in that sense, isn't it? Because when I saw Tottenham had gone with Tudor, I thought, well, unlike Amorim, who was 3 points off fourth, and we've seen how people are on the Carrick bandwagon because we've started winning games, Tottenham are nearly in a relegation battle. So in a way, for Tudor at Tottenham, he's got a much easier job, hasn't he? Like, because he can win games that Frank wasn't winning, and people might be more inclined to say give him the job. So let's not forget, Spurs might not appoint anyone. They might go with an interim. However, they are looking at Pochettino, they are looking at De Zerbi, and they are looking at Iriola, and they are looking at Glasner, and they are looking at Marco Silva, which, funnily enough, a lot of those names are on our list as well. And apparently they're looking at Michael Carrick. Now, That to me is just strange because Michael Carrick wants the Man United job. But if we don't give him the job, he'll want the Spurs job. And this is where it starts to get a little bit interesting because does Spurs' interest in Michael Carrick force Man United's hand to give him the job? Which to me is a complete and utter no-no. You don't give Carrick the job to stop Spurs offering him the job. And it's Spurs at the end of the day. If Spurs want your interim, it's not like it's Real Madrid. Let's not get mixed up on the team in white. So we can't be giving Carrick the job just because Spurs might be interested in having talks with him. However, Michael Carrick is an interim and has to think about his future as well. I think it's going to play out really interesting. And this is why, to me, it's been a little bit embarrassing the last couple of weeks where Enrique's ruled himself out, Tuchel's ruled himself out, Ancelotti's ruled himself out, and Man United are basically saying, well, we're not even starting the process yet. We're not even starting the process yet. And this is why you do need to start the process, because things are happening all around. You can't control this process. Like, you can draw up a list and people on that list can be signing new contracts. You can draw up a list and people on that list can be on Real Madrid's list or even Tottenham's list. So it's interesting because obviously I know a couple of people in and around the club. And you can find things out, like we were talking last week about transfer, Diamonde, etc., and a couple of other bits. But around the manager, it's really difficult because conversations around players tend to filter down. Conversations about the manager don't, because Michael Carrick doesn't need to know. So it's like, and Michael Carrick's not the source, of course, but the point is, the feeling in the club is that nobody really knows what they're doing around a manager. The indication is that they're not doing a lot. They're just sat doing nothing. They're not speaking to people. They don't even know who their candidates are, which would lead to suggest that they're just hoping for another Ollie. They're hoping that Carrick keeps winning and the job's done. I mean, look, the easiest job in the world is doing nothing, isn't it? The easiest job in the world is not interviewing people. The easiest job in the world is the solution's in front of us. We don't need to do anything. The easiest job in the world is saying you're going to do something, knowing you're not going to do it because you're going to give it to Carrick. The easiest job in the world is not paying somebody 10, 20, 30 million pounds for their coaching staff and them and just keeping Carrick. It's cheap. So I don't know what United are doing around the managerial position, but I'm 90% sure they'll give it to Carrick because I just think the club's badly run and they're focused on money. And I think all the big targets are going to say no anyway. So I think it's interesting to say the least. But I certainly wouldn't be rushing to give it to Carrick just because Spurs might want him. I mean, if Carrick takes the Spurs job, he'd be on BT Sports as a pundit within 18 months. I mean, he's just going to get fired. You're going to get fired, aren't you? You're going to get fired. Have a great weekend, everyone, says Ian O'Connell. Oh, mate, I tell you what. One of my mates messaged me this morning and said, can't believe Man United aren't playing for another week. And I said, but this is the propaganda that the club put out, isn't it? Fair play to Carrick winning manager of the month, but the fact that Wilcox is strutting around again, I've seen clips of him in the ground, it's because of you we're not playing any games. We're playing 40 games this season. 38 Premier League games and 2 cup games because we got knocked out in the first round of both. The reason we haven't got a game this weekend is because we were fucking rubbish at home to Brighton under Darren Fletcher. And most of the players that then switched it on for Carrick the next week. So the reason we're not playing this weekend is because of people like Wilcox and the players who fucked up the FA Cup. But they all want the buzzer Carrick. Oh yeah, Carrick. We should still be in there. There was a home tie against Brighton. I don't think people can realise how shit Brighton are. They're bang average, and they battered us in that cup game. With most of the players that are now playing really well. I mean, look, there's a big, massive post-mortem on this season. There is. And there are some positives, but there is a huge amount of issues that, as I say, a few days ago, someone said to me, Wilcox is getting the sack in the summer. And I was like, I don't believe you. But he should. He should get the sack. I said it in January, he should get the sack. I think for a director of football, if you look at his entire time here, but let's actually just talk about this season. Didn't get a midfielder in the summer, didn't get a midfielder in January, didn't bring anybody in January, sacked a manager he wanted in January, interviewed Solskjaer in January, out of both cups. I just think as a director of football, it's always managers, isn't it? Thomas Frank, Sean Dyche, Ruben Amorim, Maresca. The manager always gets the sack, but I think he's a shocking director of football. Absolutely shocking. How he's still in a job. Well, you listen to Sir Jim Radcliffe interviews and you know how he's still in a job, don't you? Because that guy ain't got a bloody clue either. But Wilcox should be gone. I mean, I don't think people realise, just playing this through for a moment, I don't think people realise how good we would be if we had a decent director of football. We've never had one. Murtagh was awful, and Wilcox is even worse. And it does make a massive amount of difference because this is the guy that sacks managers. This is the guy that buys players. This is the guy that suggests managers. This is the guy that gives the sign-off for players. Like, this is a huge job. And everyone just says, oh, Wilcox is a prat. But actually, it's a huge job. If you look at Berta at Arsenal, since he came in last March, oh my God, the guy's having a worldie. An absolute worldie. Look at what he did last summer. Like, he literally bought a bench. Like, he went and bought a bench. Like, not really. All right, Gyökeres first team. Zubimendi first team. Very good signings, I think. But the bench he bought has completely and utterly revolutionised that Arsenal team so that when they've got injuries, they don't even feel it. So, director of football, a good director of football makes a hell of a difference, and we haven't got one. If a 6 months review by Ineos has brought us to where we are, I fear another review of this season happening, says Mojo. Well, can't you remember what? I saw somebody say it the other day. It's spot on. You don't need to scratch the surface very far to find out the hypocrisy of Man United. Can't remember when Sir Jim Radcliffe said that. I can't remember what the exact words were, but it was something like, "It's not easy being in charge of United, and if people don't want me here, I'll go." Well, we don't want you here, and you're still here. Another lie. Can anyone remember the exact quote of what he said? I can't remember it. I do remember. He definitely said it. I just can't remember the exact wording, but it was something like, if I end up being disliked like the Glazers, I'll go. And he's still here. He's still here. I can't remember the exact quote, but yeah. I actually think Balaba's defence focus is what we need. We are conceding stupid goals. Our 10 can take the ball from him to lead the attack. Kyle Robinson. Probably your worst take of 2026. You really haven't been watching a lot of Balaba, have you? He's a headless chicken, mate, this season. He gets the ball, he gives it away. He gets booked loads. He does make tackles, but it's really not helping Brighton. There's no structure to what he's doing. He's a bloody nightmare. And you want to put him into the pressure cooker of Man United as the solution. I think it'd be a nightmare, in my opinion. But fair point, Keel. Appreciate that. 2 years Barada said to perform to players. Surely it should be the same for them as well, says Alex. And smash a like button, says Gabrielle, one of our moderators. Josh, one of our members, says, we got our team together singing off the same shim heat and we'll have a summer transfer window. 700 for done that one. Carrick going to Spurs would make a big statement to the Parasite owner, says G. Who do you want as manager? You know what? I hate doing this because people will just say you're negative. It's not negative, is it? I can give you the positive, right? New regime, new owners, new director of football, new CEO, remove the debt, pump money into the playing side. 2 to 3 years, we're competing for the title. Top class manager, some really good signings, good director of football, positive, right? But I haven't got any of them things. I haven't got regime change. I've still got debt. I've still got Wilcox. I've still got all these problems. And I can't see a manager. I mean, like, as I say, I can't see a manager on their own changing this issue at Man United. But on top of that, the managers I would want aren't going to come anyway. So even if you give me Luis Enrique, I think he's going to struggle with this board. He don't want the job either. So I can't, even with this board, which I think any manager's going to fail under, I can't get the best manager anyway. Do you know what I mean? So even if you give me Pep Guardiola, I don't think he can work under this board. But I'm not going to get Pep. I'm going to get someone a lot worse. So even with the best available manager, I think they'll struggle. And I'm not going to get the best available manager. So I'm sort of sat here going, apologies. I don't think the future's bright. I don't. Whether it's Michael Carrick, Mauricio Pochettino, De Zerbi, I think within the next 18 months, we're going to be sat here going, Carrick's got to go. Carrick will fail at Man United. I'd say there's an 80% chance he will fail because he's not a miracle worker. And he may not be good enough anyway. But he is inexperienced and he is going to be up against a mission impossible. But I think Pochettino would fail. I think De Zerbi will fail. I think they're all going to fail. I think the only way back for Manchester United is regime change. And a lot of people want that regime change. A lot of people after this week desperately want it because of, Sir Jim Radcliffe's comments. But you should have wanted it before. The political statements, whatever, I almost feel like saying to people, if that's the reason you want Sir Jim Radcliffe out, where have you been for the last 2 years? Like, you should want him out anyway, just for purely footballing reasons. So the manager I want, I will say Luis Enrique, we're not going to get him. The manager we're going to get is going to be a manager I don't really want. And that's not that I'm not going to back them, but they're not going to be good enough. They're just not. They'll be a puppet, basically. The manager was let down in the transfer window as the club wouldn't bring in a midfielder or the two managers wanted. It's the sporting director's fault, not the manager, as the sporting director is to blame, says David. Well, look, fundamentally, one of the things in football that's always amazed me, and let's bring it to Manchester United, is you sack Ten Hag and everybody would have been... So the way it would have worked is Barada, Wilcox, Sir Jim will have agreed to sack Ten Hag, yeah? They've then all agreed that Amrim's the guy. They then, 12 months later, sack that guy at massive cost and expense. And then here we are. Just play back that last couple of sentences and tell me what the problem is. It's not Ten Hag and Amrim, is it? It's the people making these decisions, and yet they're still here. I don't know how, as an owner of a football club, you don't figure that out. So I've been advised to sack Ten Hag, and I've been told to bring Amrim in. And then I've been told to sack Amrim. This is costing me hundreds of millions of pounds, and I'm going to sit here and blame Ten Hag and Amrim. Maybe you should look at the people who are telling you to make these decisions and think, wow, light bulb moment, their judgment is awful. Because people forget that. It's Wilcox and Barada who are saying give the job to Amrim, and then it's Wilcox and Barada saying sack him. And I'd be going, all right, I agree with that, but you told me to employ him. Now you're telling me to sack him. You're shit at your jobs, you know? If we told Wilcox to buy a bench, he would go to B&Q, says Andy Atherton. Thank you very much for that. Okay, there was something else I wanted to talk about, and I've completely forgotten it. I don't remember. We have got 8,000 people watching and we haven't got 1,000 likes. Come on, people, smash a like on the video. That was it. Thank you very much. Hope you're well, Mark. And United Stand driving with Goldbridge was great, says Daniel. That is a great shout out. If you want more of my lifestyle videos, I've got a Cooking with Goldbridge video next week. After that, I've got no plans. So if you want more, you've got to watch the videos, get involved. So check that out, Driving with Goldbridge. It's got a Valentine's Day theme as well in the first few minutes. It is Valentine's Day today, if you celebrate that shit. I don't follow cricket, no. I don't. What's the plan for today? Well, I'll tell you what, I'm not doing FA Cup watch-alongs. I think FA Cup watch-alongs are sad. I'm watching the Winter Olympics. That's where the real quiz is. No, I've got some stuff on today. I don't know whether it's because Man United got knocked out, but the fourth round of the FA Cup is about appealing to me as constipation. I'm just like... I'm just like, what is it about the FA Cup that's interesting these days? It's just not. It's just not interesting. Even Villa, Newcastle, neither of them want to be in it. They've both got to like. I saw Bruno Guimaraes is out for 2 months. I'm telling you now, these clubs do not want the FA Cup anymore. They don't. I actually think clubs are more interested in the Carabao Cup because the Carabao Cup's at the start of the season when you tend to not have played many games, so you take it seriously, you give people game time. The FA Cup starting in like late January into February. Your team's knackered, you're fighting for relegation, you're fighting for Champions League football, you're in the Champions League, you're in the Europa League. Look, we needed it. The ironic thing is, I don't think Villa, Newcastle, Liverpool, Arsenal really need the FA Cup. I think it's a pain in the arse. The team that needed it, and we fucked it up. The FA Cup was massive for us this year, and we fucked it up. We had the tissues out for Belaber a year ago, says Keel. Yeah, but a year's a long time in football, mate, and surely football's about consistency. What's the one thing Man United can't do? Consistency. And you want to go for a player that's been shit for a year. For me, that's a massive red flag. I think we will go for him. Right, so 8 o'clock show tonight. I'm free. 8 o'clock show, as per usual tonight, will be live. So get ready for that. It's your show, the 8 o'clock show. So get your ideas in, stuff you'd like to argue or debate about. Mark, you start following cricket once the Glazers buy the IPL team, says Mojo. I might have started following Cricket, Mojo, but the fact that the Glazers are going to buy a team is going to make me not follow cricket, to be honest. And my thoughts and prayers go out to everybody who supports the team the Glazers are about to buy, because there ain't no way the Glazers are sat there cricket fans. They are money fans, and they are looking at a very lucrative league and going, how do we get a bit of that? Check out Going for Goldbridge. If you didn't watch the video from last night, do check it out. The feedback's been really good, and I've got a couple more of those coming out as well. But thanks everyone watching. Take care, and I will speak to you all soon. Thank you for watching. Back to the Winter Olympics.